Okay, good evening. Councillor Nimmo has sent his apologies and will not be able to attend to this evening's meeting due to unforeseen last-minute circumstances. Do members agree to appoint Councillor Walsh as chair for tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Over to you, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you and good evening. So welcome to tonight's licensing subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Patrick Walsh and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection, Councillor Wesley Harcourt will take over from me. I'd like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. Firstly, please keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. Secondly, please keep your camera turned on when you are speaking at the hearing. And please note that the chat function has been disabled. If participants wish to add any additional information other than that at their allocated time to speak, they must use the raise hand function so that they are not missed. I also ask that members keep their points and comments brief and to the point. I now move to item 1, apologies for absence. We've already heard apologies for absence for Councillor Nimmo. And then item 2, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest that they wish to make? Councillor Harcourt.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a very brief, for the sake of transparency, I'd like it to be known that I was a victim of a bag snatch in the premises, and 4 or 5 years ago, I can't exactly remember when, it was reported to the police and also to the premises at the time. It will not in any way, I assure you, affect my objectivity in this particular process.
Thank you, Councillor Harcourt. I now move to item 3, the green. I'd like to ask everybody participating to introduce themselves as I call upon you. So we should have Guy Chip Casey, who I believe is the applicant.
Good evening, everybody. It's Guy Chipchase from Stonegate Group, Craft Union. I'm the licensing manager for Craft Union. Thank you.
Evening to you. We should also have Alex Green acting as solicitor.
Hi, good evening, Chair. Apologies the fact that I'm on my phone. I've had IT issues. Everything was set up and I'm now through the phone, but hopefully you can hear me. Alex Green, Gostrok, solicitor for the applicant.
Evening to you, Alex. We should also have Matt Tucker, the interim licensing policy and administration team lead.
Hello, Chair. I'll be introducing the item today. Thank you.
And we should also have Emmanuel Amponash, the Council's legal officer.
Hi, Chair President.
Thank you, and good evening to you, Emmanuel. And then we should also have, in objection, I believe it is Yisum Heneghan. Heneghan, sorry.
Yeah, that's right, Yisum Heneghan. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. And we should also have Nigel Singer. Do we have Nigel? Okay. Nigel is not present, it would seem. So the procedure this evening will be as follows. Before we consider the application, we will first hear from the following. The Council's legal officer will introduce the item. We will then hear from the objector, and following, we will hear from the applicant. Usually each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or other person present at the hearing. Except for committee members, no party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will then be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberations. Upon its return, I will read the committee's decision. So could I ask the presenting officer, Matt Tucker, to introduce the application?
Hello there. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, panel. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. Yes, I'd like to speak to the application which has been made by the full variation application that's been made by the Green, 172 to 174 Uxbridge Road. Members and those attending the meeting will see from Appendix 1 that we have an existing premises license in place here, and we have subsequently received a full variation. The initial variation application was to expand the hours that are listed in the report. We have, since the application has gone into consultation, I'll just cover with regards to the increase in hours and some material changes and conditions. Since the application has gone into consultation, the applicant has subsequently revised their hours and made some amendments to those proposed conditions. So the proposed conditions are listed in the report and they relate to conditions 14, 19 and 23. But just for the clarity of everyone present, effectively what we are looking at now is in respect to Friday and Saturday nights, so none other nights involved. Friday and Saturday nights, an increase by 1 hour to proposed increase to 0200 hours for the exhibition of films and playing of recorded music, the provision of late night refreshment, and the sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises. So what we're looking at is, whilst there were some increases across the board, we're actually essentially looking at the increase in Friday and Saturday in this case. So it would be fair to say that since the application has gone in, we have received a number of representations in this case. So we originally received 35 representations. One of these were 33 residential objectors, one of which withdrew before the end of the consultation period. One was from the environmental protection team, objecting as a responsible authority, but as members will see, their objection has since been resolved and hence conciliated by way of agreement over conditions. And we also had an objection from Councillor Ume in her capacity as a ward councillor. So essentially, members will be aware that there has been, from the correspondence attached to the report, we've got the original application, the negotiations between the applicant and the related parties. In addition, I just wanted to cover the supplementary agendas, if I may, Chair. We have received some additional comments from some of the objectors who originally commented, but they've responded on the back of the developments in the application, so that's why we've recorded it. And also, the other supplementary item relates to a recent inspection that was undertaken and that's been reported on the 21st of July internally as colleagues. So shortly before the 21st, an inspection was undertaken at the premises, and there were no issues or breaches spotted in relation to into the premises. So there were no issues to report. So with respect to that, I don't have any other further updates. We haven't seen any movement in terms of objectors wishing to withdraw. And on that basis, I'll stop the presentation at that point, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So we will first hear from the objectors. So Isam, as our sole objector present, I'll refer to yourself. You have up to 5 minutes to make your representation.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll do my best. I have to admit I didn't fully prepare for this. So my main objection is that it's a noise issue, and people, just to clarify, I live on flat 1, which is just above the premises itself. The pub plays music beyond their current license hours. They've been quite quiet these past few weeks, I have to admit, but I think it's probably because they want to apply for this license. But when they do have the music on, the sound, the bass vibrations really shakes the whole building, and past hours of 11 p.m. it just makes it impossible for myself to sleep. And it's just not me directly living above the flats. I know people living in flat 2 and 3A, 3 floors above. They also feel this vibration, and I don't think that's very good for the structural integrity of the building. So I think, we've got like, we really need to take into account the health and well-being of residents here. I just want to share something from one of the other objectors who couldn't make it today. His name is, I'm going to butcher his pronunciation, Ashburn Bergman Berkland. He lives in flat 1A, I believe. He says the noise from the fan in the backyard roof it's also very disruptive. So he suggested food preparation should not be allowed after 10:30 p.m. and that the fan must stop no longer than 11 p.m. He pretty much reinforced what I said. So no use of loudspeakers and microphones after 10:30 p.m. And we both agree that it'll be like if the Green is able to find a way to, I don't know, have really solid, rigorous, sound absorbing or protection measures in place in a way that doesn't disrupt us living above, then we will accept it. But so far we haven't seen anything that is that really allay our concerns here. So hopefully I've summarized it well enough, but I just really hone in the fact that it is in fact very disruptive for us living upstairs.
Thank you, Isam, for your representation. As the sole objector and Nigel is not present this evening, I'm going to move along to the applicant. So either Alex or Guy, as 5 minutes has been allocated to the objector, 5 minutes is similarly allocated to yourselves to make any representations you wish to make.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very, very quick because I've got a lot to plough through. Good evening to you all. So the applicant, Craft Union Pub Company, very experienced operators, 600 premises nationwide, recently won the accolade of Community Operator of the Year award at the Publican Awards. Craft are part of the large Stonegate Pub Company with over 4,000 pubs and bars throughout the UK, very responsible national operator. The Green is an integral local business on a very busy commercial road, Uxbridge Road junction with Wood Lane. It's been a pub for at least 35 years, extremely well run. It is a rare success story in an area that has clearly had its issues and that suffers from a lack of investment. The applicant is due to spend a six-figure sum this summer on a raft of improvements to make it even nicer at a time when places are closing and being replaced by fast food shops. The owner of the Green contributes to the local economy by paying licence fees, business rates, and has also contributed over £5,000 into the local bid initiative. Please also note that the application has been made as there is a clear demand for it from its existing patrons, otherwise it wouldn't have been applied for. The original application, as we've heard, I won't repeat that, it's already been discussed. After discussions with the responsible authorities regarding the original application and seeing the level of opposition to the 3 AM application, it was drastically reduced to what it is today, which is, as we've heard, just 1 hour on a weekend, which is exactly what the neighbouring pub has on its premises licence. That's called the Defectors Weld. We wrote to all the objectors to explain how the application had changed. I'd also like to remind the committee that this is not a review hearing. These premises cause no bother at all to the responsible authorities. How do we meet the licensing objectives? Well, as my client is a responsible and large operator, they liaised fully with the experts to check to see they were happy with the application and what they could do to reduce any issues or alleviate any conditions, any issues with the problems with the application. The police licensing officer looked at the application in detail, and only when they were happy with it did they then check with their local police team for the area. They asked for a tweak to the local football match condition, which was agreed quickly. Plus, we've agreed a door staff condition for Friday and Saturday nights also, if open late. The environmental health officer looked at the application, discussed it with colleagues, and after a few amendments to the application, they confirmed, and I quote, "Considering the changes and the safeguards introduced by the police, we are confident there will be no future impact related to noise, antisocial behaviour, etc. from this application." In addition to the newly agreed conditions, the licence already has comprehensive conditions with CCTV, notices asking patrons to leave quietly, challenge to anyone, match day restrictions, no escape of noise, etc. The applicant also has numerous policies as standards such as dispersal, drugs policy, Ask Angela, and national accreditations. I'm being as quick as I can, Chair. On to the representations. I would ask you to consider the representations against the backdrop of the fact that there are no representations from any of the responsible authorities anymore. I would also like to highlight the fact that this is a hugely built up area with literally hundreds and hundreds of residences, numerous businesses, and despite this, there was approximately 35 objections to the original application, and the application we are discussing today is greatly reduced. I'd also like to highlight that the applicant, local operator licensing authority, has received, by all accounts, just one noise complaint or any complaint in the last few years from 2023. And on the back of that complaint, we introduced a noise limiter onto the sound system, amongst other noise attenuation measures. And as far as we were concerned, there were no further issues. We can only deal with issues if we know about them. We are a huge and very responsible operator. We'll always deal with any issues and complaints when brought to our attention. We also note that during the consultation period recently, there was a new complaint from the resident living above the premises relating to noise, which led to a visit from the EHO. The EHO found no issues or breaches, and the DPS was very knowledgeable and knew the licence conditions, etc. Very well. I'll quickly pick out some very material points from the representations, as the majority of them talk about the similar concerns relating to the area. Litter, mess, broken glass, antisocial behaviour, drug use, vandalism, issues with gangs, noise, etc. However, these people causing this are nothing to do with us or the premises, and are part of what is unfortunately common societal issues, especially in the big cities. It is very clear from the objectives they have serious concerns about the area. They're trying to work with the council and the police to improve things, which we of course greatly respect. I would say that if there were instances of fighting and antisocial behaviour on a regular basis,
30 seconds remaining,
and it was known to relate to these specific premises, I think the police would have objected. We've offered up doorstop on the weekends as well. The residents believe that everything will potentially lead to higher instances of crime and disorder, but the police and environmental health do not agree. The residents talk about a fan. There is no kitchen, there is no food. We don't know what this fan relating to a kitchen is. There is no food, but we of course will 100% investigate this fan now that we're aware of it. And I'm trying to whisk through as much as I can. A number of the representations relate to the children condition, the last entry policy, the QPR.
Thank you, Alex. Your time has now completed.
Okay, thank you.
So we are now going to move to committee questions. Can I ask each committee member to ask questions to any party about the application and issues that have been raised at the hearing in relation to the 4 licensing objectives? As a reminder, the 4 licensing objectives are: 1, the prevention of crime and disorder; 2, public safety; 3, the prevention of public nuisance; 4, the protection of children from harm. So do any members of the committee have any questions they wish to raise? I'm seeing Councillor Harcourt's hand.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of quick questions. Perhaps I'll begin with that last point that was raised by Miss Hennigan-Peace, which is about the fan. Can we just clarify, because I read that also in the list of objections about this fan on the backyard roof, which I hear from Mr. Green that in fact there isn't one. Can we just clarify what the position is on that?
Yes, this is something that a fellow resident has shared with me, so I'm afraid I didn't have the adequate information to answer this, but is it possible for me to get in contact with him and follow up on that following this call?
Okay, Mr. Chipchase, is that something you could do?
Yeah, absolutely. I might be able to assist with this one. It's the first that we as a business have heard that the fan is causing an issue. There is no kitchen or working kitchen within the premises. The craft union sites don't serve food. So I can only presume that if the fan is ours, then it might well be connected to the cellar in terms of sort of cellar cooling systems, etc. I am more than happy to commit to Yusum and obviously the resident of flat 1A to investigate that. And first and foremost, I'll have an engineer out to that to have a look to make sure it's working within its parameters, i.e. it's not being excessively noisy. And if it is connected to our cellar system, we should be able to put that onto a timer, which would mean that we could actually have that fan turned off at a certain time. So I'm happy to commit to doing that. But to be honest with you, Yusum, it was the first we've actually heard of it until we've seen the hearing pack. So yeah, if that's an issue for the neighbour, then more than happy to commit to resolving that as a problem.
Just want to quickly say thank you for addressing that and pass the message on.
worries at all. Thank you.
Sticking to this issue of noise, the other issue that was raised was noise and vibration. Is there anything? Are you prepared to take any action or to look at that and see what you can do by way of increasing insulation, be it both noise and vibration? Because obviously we've got residential directly above the pub.
Yeah, agreed. And part of the investment itself, we have looked at that nonetheless. So I'm aware there's a noise limiter at the site. I think that was put in following a noise issue back in 2023. I think my records show, I think it was sort of installed somewhere around June 23, but I don't think that ever migrated its way into the conditions of the license. So I'm not entirely sure as to its suitability, whether it's still working as correctly as it should. First of all, I am happy to condition that element into the license, so that we would at least have the element of enforceability, for the authorities, for the HO, and for the residents, should that be required. The second element to that is I would be happy, again, I'll have an engineer visit that to make sure it's functioning correctly. But if it needs to be set in conjunction with the EHO, then again, I'm happy to do that. I don't have any issue with that. I think there's two other points to raise in terms of noise attenuation measures. First of all is to make sure that any speakers that we have mounted on walls via brackets are rubber mounted, so they have an acoustic mounting, which means that any vibration from those speakers isn't transmitted into the structure of the building. And I also think the second element, which I'm happy to commit to as well, is that we will have acoustic matting. Now, I'm not entirely sure if everyone knows what that is or what that means. So just for clarity purposes, effectively it's a acoustic matting. So if any speakers are on the floor, such as a bass bin or anything along those lines, or if they are backed into a cabinet that is attached to the building in some respect, then they are sound deadening insulating matting that prevents vibration moving away from that speaker into the structure of the building. So those are three elements there, which I have as part of the investments into the site that we're currently going through.
Mm. Okay, those are not in place at the moment, the rubber mountings and the acoustic mats, or are they in place at the moment?
As far as I'm aware, they're not in place at the moment.
I see. Okay,
that's part and parcel of this investment, really. So I've ensured that those elements are into that investment scope.
A couple of questions to Mr. Tucker. Firstly, there's been one complaint mentioned, which was back in, was it May 23 or thereabouts? Have there been any other issues raised? There was one other one raised about, was it earlier this year? But it's not clear whether it's substantiated or not.
No, so thank you for the question, Councillor. Bear with me a second while I just load up the report a second. Sorry. This is what happens when you have hundreds of windows in front of you. And so with respect to, yes, so I think speaking to the point that Guy has mentioned is about, there are two bullet points in our enforcement history. One relates to 18th and 26th of May 2023, which I think would be fair to, that accords with the noise issue. So so that's one point. So we did receive, as it says in the report, in 15th of July, we did receive an allegation that the premises was operating out of hours. We didn't take an enforcement action, but the premises was advised of the allegation and reminded of their obligations. So that is what we would class as the first step, the first rung of the ladder of our stepped approach. So essentially what we would do is we would keep a log of that allegation that's been made and our gentle reminder. And then if we received another complaint or subsequent complaints, that would then result in further that would then result in us perhaps taking more stringent action. But in fairness, Councillor, what that then did result in was the subsequent visit over just under a week later, which highlighted that the premises was overall compliant. So I think at this particular stage, we have done what would be expected under our enforcement processes, which was send a gentle reminder of what their obligations are, which the feedback I got from the enforcement officer went, as well as the feedback was that was understood and that was well acknowledged. So, and I think it's helpful for us to have those conversations with the license holder so that they are aware and that they can try and stave off any issues as and when they arise. hopefully that covers it, Councillor.
Yep, thank you. Just one more question. Again to you, Mr. Tucker. Can you advise me or remind me perhaps of what the council policy is on closing times in town centres, and is this application out of kilter with other premises in the area?
So it would be fair to say, so with respect, I'll pick up on whilst I grab some information for you, Councillor. The point being is that the applicant has already indicated that it does mirror the opposite premises. So we are, in a broad sense, dealing with a situation where permission has been given up to the point where the application is seeking. However, I think it would be fair to say our statement of licensing policy refers to particular hours, and our framework hours under our policy currently sit around sorry, just bear with me a second.
Matt, I'm not too sure if it'll assist, but I think the framework hours are on page 11 of our committee papers.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Guy. Thank you. Yeah. So just to pick up, Councillor. Yeah. So sorry, I was trying to find them from the original source, Guy and Councillor Harthorpe. So yeah. So they are listed in, as Guy has mentioned, they're listed in section 5.5 of the report. So what we are looking at is that essentially Friday to Saturday, the application hours are a slight increase, it would be fair to say, in terms of the framework hours that are listed. However, obviously, I'm sure you're probably aware, Councillor, that as a licensing committee, you're required to take in each individual case on its own merits. And if you are satisfied as a committee that you have a responsible license holder / applicant in front of you, then you are entitled to take a view and depart from that policy. So I think it's essentially up to yourselves whether you want to grant it based on what you've been presented with tonight. Okay.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but my reading of that bit was 2:30 for pubs in town centres. Is that not right?
So we're looking at town centres. So, well, we are looking at town centres, but also that you have a situation where you also have mixed use, so that there is residential in and around the premises. We've already identified there's residential on top of the premises. So we are in a situation, and I think it would be fair to say that we're probably in a hybrid between the two here. So we do have a long road, which it would be fair to say has a long element of commercial presence, but there are also mixed dwellings there. I don't have the precise numbers for you, Councillor. I'm afraid it's well outside my area of expertise, but we've evidenced the fact that we do have mixed areas by virtue of the fact that there are residential dwellings on top of the premises. And ultimately, you are entitled to take a view based on the individual circumstances in this case. I can't imagine for a moment that there aren't private dwellings above those commercial spaces along that road.
Okay, so effectively it's a call for the committee to decide.
Absolutely, Councillor.
Okay,
yeah. So I think
you.
we're probably looking between the two. Yeah.
That's it from me, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harcourt. Just before I come to yourself, Councillor Stanton, I'm just going to bring in Yusum, as I know she's had her hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. And don't mean to interrupt you, Councillor. So I want to address a number of points made by the solicitor. For a start, he referenced the defector's will that apparently has the same, also play music quite late tonight.
Yusum, can I, is it sounds like you're getting onto your points, which may be better suited to your summary. And in terms of cross-referencing, as I outlined earlier, it's only the committee members that are able to cross-reference in this case. So if there is something in addition that you'd like to add, but obviously if there's something like that where you wish to cross-reference something that's been said earlier, please save that for your summation later on.
Yeah, so if it's an in addition thing, then I will wait for my summary. Is that right?
Yeah, so if you're looking to obviously respond to something that another party has made, that's better suited to the summation. We're at the stage now where the committee members will be the sole ones responsible for the questioning of any party in this stage, but party members are not entitled to cross-reference at this point in the meeting.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Councillor Stanton, over to yourself.
Thank you, everybody, for everything so far. Most of my questions actually have already been answered or asked. Just a quick point of clarification, because I think I may have misheard Matt Tucker when Councillor Harcourt was asking first about the policy hours. I think, Matt, you said that there is already one there with similar hours. Is that what you said?
Yeah. No, it's okay, Councillor. Yeah, so in the attachment, in the appendix, in the appendices. So we're
on page 58, if that helps, if that's the bit you're referring to.
Yeah. So the additional appendices, we do have a premises which is defectors class. It's named as Defectors World, which does run up until 2 a.m.
Okay, I didn't mishear you, in which case, so thank you. No, that's okay.
That's all right. You're quite welcome.
One of the issues that many objectors have with licensing hearings is they're very concerned that the granting of one license will lead to the granting of a second license.
Sure.
So just for clarity, we will obviously be judging this application on its merits.
Absolutely, Councillor. Yeah.
So yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, thank you. I just want to check that. I do have a question for the applicant, which is there is a request to amend the condition relating to days, or rather Saturdays, on which men's first team and QPR are playing. My question is really why it's only Saturday. I suppose I should actually be asking licensing this as well, for their opinion, why it's only Saturdays that's being requested. Because although I don't follow football maybe as closely as others might do, I am aware that considerable numbers of games and an increasing number of games are played midweek. So if I can just throw that, maybe Matt, if you could just address that first.
Sure. Yeah. So I think So I think with fair, Councillor, I think where we are with the statement of licensing policy at the moment is obviously it was set in 2022. It has a series of framework hours set around it, and I think it would be fair to say that those were guided at the time when the statement was introduced. So effectively, that's based on the presumption. I would imagine it's based on the presumption that we have football and other sporting events taking place on Friday and Saturday, as well as sort of the transatlantic things that go into the early morning kind of event. So not necessarily just football, but yeah. So I think that would be fair to say. But you're absolutely right. Things do pop up midweek now more than ever. But essentially, I think it would be fair to say. I think ultimately, the decision to pare back the hours in terms of the application was down to the applicant themselves. So I think it would be fair to let them speak to that point.
Yeah, thank you very much. Agree.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, just to pick up on the point about the QPR match days and why is that on Saturdays, etc. I think that was when I spoke with Nicole, the police. That was primarily because they don't want to be in a situation whereby people have access to alcohol super early, end up having a load of drinks, and then heading off to the stadium and causing issues. Midweek games, that's not necessarily the issue. So that's why it's on Saturdays in terms of that particular condition. It was Nicole's recommendation to split it out. So we had a starting time whereby there is a match that kicks off at 12:30, and then a separate starting time whereby there's a match that kicks off later in the afternoon. And it was just about guiding fans and making sure people don't have access to alcohol from super early or from 10 o'clock if the match is going to kick off at 3:30, etc. So the splitting of that was actually primarily the police's sort of
Sure.
So we're happy for that.
Thank you. I've obviously heard quite a few of these applications in the past and have done a number of venues, including the actual stadium, around Chelsea and around Fulham, which they're larger grounds, more people attending, etc. But we do often have quite a few additional sort of match day conditions with relation to like use of plastic glasses, etc. And I think so. I'm just looking through the papers to see what we've actually got here. The only time I've got anything about plastic is it does say on page 25. So is that the original? So there is already a condition for plastic glasses to be used from 3 hours before the advertised kickoff time. So that would carry over midweek as well. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thank you. I'm just looking at my notes. I was going to ask about the noise monitor, but I think you've covered that. That's everything from me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. I actually have no questions to ask from myself, so I'm going to ask if there are any final questions that need to be asked by any members of the committee. Okay. In that case, we will move to summing up. So could I ask the licensing officer, Matt Tucker, if there are any summations you wish to make?
Sure, thank you very much, Chair. Just a point of information for the committee, if there is any ongoing with respect to the noise going from the fan, we as officers are always happy, as I'm sure you're probably aware, to communicate and liaise between residents and the applicant in terms of progressing that and updating you as a subcommittee in terms of what progress has been made. And that would sit alone outside the process of what decision you make tonight. Aside from that, I have no further comment to make. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Matt. Yusum, you have up to 3 minutes for any summations you wish to make.
Yes, thank you. So quickly on the structural disturbances and the fact that there hasn't been that many noise complaints, it's because I just want to let you know that I have been several times going down to the pub to ask the member of staff to reduce the noises in the pub, and for many times I've been, they said that they would, and it hasn't happened. I didn't realize that I could make a complaint to the council officers until like a few years ago, and so I managed to make one complaint. But then in the subsequent times where the pub has made noise disturbances, I've just not had the energy and I've just been too tired from a long day's work to make the complaint. Taking complaint usually entails calling officer and then waiting about an hour or more for them to come and then log the complaint. So hence that's why you haven't had that many records of complaints from residents, because everyone else I spoke to had the same issue. The defectors will very quickly. I think they only have a kitchen above the pub, but please look into that. From what I could see, I feel like it's only a kitchen or office, hence that maybe that's why residents haven't made the complaints. Yeah, I know that. Is it Guy? You mentioned that there'll be a number of interventions made with like the rubber mounting and the Kutitz mounting. I'm not a technical expert. It all sounds great, but I think if you could really prove that this will actually make a difference and it won't hurt the noise in where we're living, then that'll be great. But at the moment, it just sounds like I can't make sense of it. I need to know exactly how it works. But to add to that point, just to reinforce the fact that I have spoken to a pub before where they've gone over the license. My main concern is that if we extend the license, then it will be a repeat of what happens. The noise continues beyond your licensing hours, and then I have to, and then I just, like I said, I don't always have the energy to come down. I know several times during the day, or call the council officers to come and log this. By the way, I'm not here to be a difficult neighbor. I understand the economic landscape of the pubs. I know it's closing. This is not a great thing for London's economy. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that
30 seconds remaining.
So that's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Isam. So I now move to the applicant. So either Guy or Alex, you have 3 minutes as well to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I'll very quickly sum up what we've heard. Section 9.43 of the 182 guidance states that the authority's determination should be evidence-based, something we saw in the High Court case of Thwaite. So what's the evidence? No objections from the experts and primary sources of guidance in crime, disorder, noise and nuisance, i.e. the police and environmental health. Surely if this was a problem premise contributing to the challenging area, the police and environmental health would have objected. This fact should, I respectfully say, carry considerable weight when determining its application. The premises licence has many robust conditions on it. There are additional conditions that have been added to help meet the licensing objectives, plus the door staff, etc., etc. Most of the resident concerns are about antisocial behaviour, noise, crime in the general area. There is no evidence that any of it is caused by this specific premises. In fact, there are numerous takeaways, pubs, bars, restaurants, convenience stores, some licensed, some not, in the area that open late on a weekend. The guidance makes it clear that the main source of advice on crime and disorder are the police. And once again, the police are not sat here today objecting to the application. The Green is a well-run, established, thriving local pub that is the subject of a large investment programme this summer, and the heavily reduced application is now just for 1 additional hour at the weekend only. We've offered up a number of noise attenuation measures such as a noise limiter to alleviate the concerns of the residents. The EHO visited recently and confirmed there were no issues or breaches, and they have no problem with the application. Section 2.21 of the Section 182 guidance states, and this is relevant here, beyond the immediate area of the premises, these are matters for the personal responsibility of individuals under the law. And your own policy confirms that licensing law is not seen as the primary mechanism for the general control of noise, nuisance, antisocial behaviour, particularly once individuals have left the vicinity. I'll quickly finish by reiterating to the committee and the objector, this is very important. Under the Licensing Act 2003, a local resident or anybody can apply to have a premises licence reviewed if at any time after the licence has been granted, matters arise that concern the failure to promote the licensing objectives. I conclude, and apologies for whizzing through, I didn't want to miss anything this time, so I missed half my submissions earlier. I conclude by thanking the committee for its time, and in light of what we have heard today, I invite the committee to grant the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. The committee is now going to move to deliberations. So we are going to retire to a separate room to discuss. You are welcome to remain in the meeting to hear the committee decision. However, this may take some time. If you do not wish to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. So could I ask members of the committee to turn off the videos, mute their microphones, and to join me in the separate teams meeting for the deliberation. Okay. Good evening, everybody. We have reached a decision. Just check. Amrita, are you back with us?
Hi, Chair. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, fabulous. So, the committee has considered an application for the variation of a premises license on the following. Exhibition of films playing of recorded music indoors only, provision of late night refreshments indoors only, sale of alcohol consumption on and off premises, hours open to the public, amended conditions of 14, 19, 23 attached to the existing premises license under the Licensing Act of 2003, the applicant. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to grant the application as follows. Exhibition of films and the playing of recorded music indoors only, Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to midnight, Friday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., Sunday 8 a.m. to midnight, provision of late night refreshment indoors only, Monday to Thursday, 2300 to midnight, Friday to Saturday, 2300 to 2 a.m., Sunday, 2300 to midnight. Sale of alcohol consumption on and off the premises, Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to midnight, Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., Sunday, 8 a.m. to midnight. Hours open to the public, Monday to Thursday, 7 a.m. to 30 minutes past midnight, Friday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2:30 a.m., and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 30 minutes past midnight. Amendment to conditions 14, 19, and 23 as follows. Condition 14, children under the age of 16 years of age shall not be allowed on the premises after 2100 hours. Condition 19, alcohol shall not be served before 11 a.m. on Saturdays when Queen's Park Rangers, better known as QPR, male first team play at home, and kick-off is at 1500 hours or any time thereafter. Also, alcohol shall not be served before 10 a.m. on Saturdays when QPR male first team play at home, and the kickoff is between 12:30 midday and 14:59 p.m. Condition 23, there shall be no admission of new customers on the premises after 1 a.m. To add to the conditions proposed by the police as agreed by the applicant, the following conditions are proposed by the committee. 1, acoustic matting shall be installed for the floor speakers, and there shall be adequate acoustic monitoring for the wall. Acoustic matting shall be installed for the floor speakers, and there shall be adequate acoustic mounting for the wall-mounted speakers on the premises to prevent vibration, transmission of sound energy to the adjoining properties. 2, there shall be a time limit for the cellar fan on the premises to be approved by the environmental health officer. 3, to install and maintain a functioning noise limiter on the premises to be approved by the environmental health officer. The licensing becomes operational with immediate effect. If problems are experienced, then an application for a review of the premises license can be made. A copy of the committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the conditions added to the license, shall be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to a magistrate's court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. So I'd like to thank everybody for their participation this evening and to wish you all a very good evening.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the committee. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.